Hello, everyone, and a very warm welcome to our Design School workshop for today. My name is Matt, and for those of you who don't know, Design School is the home of workshops and webinars for you, our Canva community. To find out about any upcoming events, visit canva.com/design school and see the events section to find a range of interactive content empowering our community to design. We're thrilled to have you joining us for this jam-packed session today, Easy Photo Editing on Your Phone. As mentioned, my name is Matt, and I'm the course design lead at Canva Design School. Before I became a designer, I was a photographer. My mum and dad were both photographers, and it was very much a family business. The first photo editing I ever actually learned was actually with a paintbrush and inks on printed photos. Photo editing has come a long way since then, and Canva has taken it to an even higher level in terms of ease and impact. Before we get started, let us know in the chat if you've never used Canva before. And just in case there is someone out there who doesn't know Canva, it's a free tool available on mobile and desktop, making it easy to design anything. And today, it's all about designing on your mobile. We'll be taking you through some of the basic photo editing skills and showing you many of the new photo editing features that are now available in the Canva app. So if you'd like to try out some during the session, I recommend downloading the Canva app now and logging in with your account. That way, you'll be ready to dive in and start playing when we start exploring the photo editing features. In case you've never used the Canva app before, I'll give you a quick preview of some of the features with this short video. Check it out. So everyone has their own idea of a perfect photo. With Canva, you can easily take control of your image's look and feel, remix it with easy to use tools, simple slider adjustments, and more. In this session, I'm going to take you through some of our most loved photo editing tools that you can use all from the one place. This is going to be useful for people who are new to Canva or new to photo editing. But even if you have some experience with editing and Canva, there's still going to be a ton of tips and tricks in here, especially around some of the new features in Canva. With all those tools and more at our fingertips, and with the Canva app, we have a photo studio in our pocket. You can use your mobile to take photos and Canva to edit them on the go and use them in social media content, in your e-commerce store, or even create beautiful and convincing ads for Facebook or Insta to grow your business. Your phone is now all you need to edit and enhance your photos and turn them into powerful content that you can share on social media. And the best thing is with Canva, you don't even need to switch apps. You can just do it all from the one centralized place. And this makes it a huge time saver. Now, before I go on too much further, I must remember to tell you about downloading the workbook that accompanies this webinar. This workbook has a ton of information in it, and it gives you the chance to play with some of the tools I'll be talking about. In fact, I'd encourage you to download it now and play along during the session. I'll be referring to specific pages, and I really believe the best way to embed knowledge is to practice and play while I'm describing the tool. So if you haven't already, go to this web address or take a snap of the QR code, open the document and get it ready. As a society, we're taking lots of photos. Care to guess how many? Let's say per year globally. Okay, you ready? Recent research shows that 1.4 trillion photos were captured globally in 2021, and that's up from 1.12 trillion in 2020. That's nearly 4 billion a day, 160 million an hour. And if I've done my maths right, that's just under 44,000 every second. It's mind-blowing, isn't it? In the next few years, they're expecting that number to grow by 10. So my question to you is, how many of those photos were actually any good? Here's another question. What percentage of photos do you think are taken on mobile? With mobile phones being our primary way of capturing photos, it's just so easy to retake and retake and retake until we get something half decent. But is half decent really good enough these days? With so many amazing photos on our social media feeds, we need it to be better than half decent if we want our image to stand out. Thankfully, Canva's got you covered. We've really been thinking about how we can give your photos an instant edge. Achieve the look you want with ease, whether you're creating for your feed or your business or just to show your mum. So, are we ready to learn how? I'm going to refer to the workbook quickly and show you how it works. Each exercise has two main pages. You can tell them apart with the headings. One says learn and the other says play. The learn page has a video that shows you exactly what you need to do. Watch it as many times as you need. The play page is all yours, where you can practice the skill. Click, drag, rotate, resize, anything you see on this page. At Canva, we really believe in learning by doing. So I heavily encourage you to actually do the play slide, even if you ignore all the theory. And don't worry, you can't break Canva. Just have fun with it and see what each tool does. So to kick us off, let's explore some of the basics of how you move things around. In Canva, it couldn't be easier. You just simply click and drag to move the images. When you select something, you'll see a bounding box appear. You can tap and drag to move it. You can make your images bigger and smaller by dragging the handles out or in. Rotate it by grabbing the rotation button just here. And if your image is mirrored or facing the wrong way, you can flip the image by clicking the button that says flip. It's really that easy. The first workbook activity allows you to practice these simple movements. I'm going to give you 1 minute to actually go ahead and do it in the workbook. You'll be rotating, moving, increasing the size, and then flipping. On the workbook, in the Learn page, you've got this video as well. So you can watch it as many times as you need to show you exactly what you need to do. Okay, good luck. Ten seconds. Okay. How did you go? Another basic concept in photo editing is cropping. This is where you can remove unwanted areas from your photo by zooming within the frame of the image. In other words, you're changing the composition of the photo. This allows you to draw focus to the thing that you really want your audience to see. And sometimes it's nice to have that extra space around the photo, but sometimes with social media, for example, we don't really have the time for the audience to work out what we're trying to say. We need it to be a little bit more immediate and to the point. This is a great example. We don't need all that extra stuff, the boat and the sky and the stones on the beach. What we need is that look of joy on the parents' faces, the child looking out to the huge world beyond them. Here, we've drawn the focus to the relationship between the three figures. Back in the workbook, we have a fun little task to get rid of that pesky photo bomber. I'm going to pop that 1 minute timer on again. Double tap on the image, use the crop tool to get started. Good luck. Okay, 10 seconds to go. The first thing you're going to see when you start is there's actually more to the image than is actually showing. And this often confuses people. Like, how can there be more of the picture? The easiest way I explain this is imagine the photo is sitting in this invisible picture frame. We can move the photo around, but the audience can only see what is shown through the frame. We can also make the picture bigger by grabbing the handles, just like we did in that first exercise. And while we're on the topic of frames, Canva has all these sorts of interesting frames you can use as a surrounding for your photo. These can be invisible, like we just saw, or visible. Actually, not just visible, decorative. Simply go to the Elements tab, scroll down, and you'll see a selection called Frames. If you click on the see all, you'll be presented with every type of frame you could imagine. There are even frames that resemble phones or laptops. And if you need to show people how things will appear on screen, this is kind of perfect. Okay, in the workbook, we've given you a picture of a famous landmark. Who's going to be the first person to name it in the chat? Yeah, you're correct. It's the Taj Mahal. So let's search for a suitable frame in the elements. Here's your timer. Keep scrolling and you'll start to get some really interesting ones. Or you could use the search function, like maybe type in India, click on it, and it will appear in the editor. Drag the Taj Mahal image into the center of the frame and you'll automatically place it straight in. You can use the crop tool again to reposition the image just where you want it to go. Okay, you got 30 seconds left. Ten seconds. All right, hopefully you found that as easy as the video looks. Now, when you begin to move an image around in a frame, you'll see some grid lines pop up. And I want to explain what they are. These guides are called the rule of thirds. These 4 guides break down your image into thirds, both horizontally and vertically. If you position a point of interest, something you want the audience to focus on one of these lines, these cross sections, it magically makes your composition more interesting. Why does it magically do this? Well, it's all to do with balance and movement, which are 2 basic principles of art and design. Something that is perfectly balanced, as in symmetrically balanced, the same on both sides, can sometimes be seen as a bit boring. By moving it to the side, you create this asymmetrical balance or unbalance it altogether, which grabs the attention and intrigues the viewer. It also starts to suggest movement. By having it off center, you allow the viewer's eyes to journey across the whole image to focus on the area of interest. The picture as a whole starts to hint at a wider story. In the workbook, we've given you 3 images that we think can be more interesting by applying the rule of thirds. I'll give you a bit longer on the timer this time, let's say 2 minutes. Just select the crop, grab the corner you want to enlarge and make it bigger. Then you can move the image around within the frame, settling the point of interest on one of the cross sections of the lines. Okay, good luck. Okay, you've got about a minute left. So I'm just going to go into that first one while you're still working. Sometimes it's helpful to see the before and after. So I've put them next to each other so you can see them both together. And you can see that we're now emphasizing in this after picture, the blue sky that's coming into the frame. You can see how we've placed the lighthouse, the subject, over the left-hand vertical line. If we placed it on the opposite line, it might emphasize more of the storm clouds. And it's really going to come down to a personal choice. Which one do you prefer? If we look at the next one, well, this is a great shot already. But what happens when we reduce the rocks? He's now standing at the edge of the world, and you get more of a sense of where he's looking. It's intriguing. Like, what is over that edge? What can he see that we can't see? And this time we're positioning on the right vertical and then on the bottom horizontal. This one picks up on where the subject is looking by placing them on the right-hand vertical, putting their eyes on the top horizontal. And rule of thirds is just one technique that you can use. There's plenty of others, but it's a really good place to start learning composition. One tool that tends to be forgotten is the transparency tool. It's a simple tool that basically makes objects see-through, so you can see the background coming through. For a photo on its own, you can use it to drop the intensity of the image using the simple slider, fading into the background. It just makes it more subtle. It's great if you need to put some text over it and make sure the text is still readable. You can also change the background color to give the impression of tinting the photo, because the color then shows through the photo. You can make this photo appear warmer or cooler, or you can use a gradient background, and that's when we really start to have some fun. Of course, you could keep the photo at full intensity and place the shape over the top and use transparency on the shape. It'll do the same thing. Let's have a go at this in the exercise. I'll put a minute on the clock. In this case, you're using transparency to create a tinted area of emphasis to show where the action is, where you want the audience to focus their attention. Use a circle, place it over the figure, and drop the transparency down so you suddenly get much more graphic image. I'll let you have a go at that. All right, how did you go? It's pretty easy, isn't it? But it makes a massive difference. Okay, we're about halfway through the workbook. And so far, we've talked about edits in a non-destructive way, which means we haven't affected the original image. We've been doing things around the image, things that can be undone easily. Now we're going to have a look at when we change the original picture. If you're in a rush, Canva has just added this great little tool called Auto Enhance. It automatically takes your photo to the next level by better defining colors and balancing lighting in one easy step. All you need to do is select the picture, hit the edit image, and then choose the Auto Enhance. Canva will do all the work. I'm not even going to put a timer on this because it's so fast. If you haven't used it before, you just need to go and load it at the bottom. You can adjust how much enhancement you want by using the slider tool. And once you're happy with it, hit apply and your image is instantly enhanced. Just be aware there's no going back. So if you want to compare, you can hit the show original checkbox, or what I prefer to do is make a duplicate so you can compare the difference side by side, like I've done here. It's pretty amazing the difference it makes with just one tap. Of course, if you want a more manual experience, Canva provides that too in the adjustments. You click on the image, select edit image, and you'll see 3 options near the top under the adjust heading: brightness, contrast, and saturation. They're the most common adjustments, and a quick play on these will convert a good photo into a great one. If you click on the see all, you'll get exposed to a whole range of adjustments you can make to the original image. Now, I'm not going to go into all of them, but it's worth explaining some of the ones you'll probably use most often. Brightness affects the light or dark of individual colors. And here in the middle picture, this one's completely unadjusted. If we take the slider one way, to the right in this case, you'll start to move all the colors closer to white. The opposite way moves all the colors closer to black. It's really great for giving an overall color a bit of a boost or dropping it back if it's already a bit too vibrant. Contrast is similar. It deals with light and dark, but only affects the difference between them. The more contrast you give an image, the more difference there will be between the dark and the light areas. So slide one way and the difference becomes great, and the highlight's very white and the shadow's very black. Slide the opposite way and the difference between light and dark becomes a lot less. Saturation is all about the intensity of colors. Send the slider all the way to one side and your colors will really become vivid and potentially too vivid. Take it all the way to the other side and you'll end up taking away all the color, leaving you with a grayscale image. I won't go into all the other adjustments, but blur is actually interesting because it takes away the sharpness. And this is really good if you want the image as a background, not grabbing too much attention. If you take it the other way, it makes it a lot sharper, as you can see here. X process, otherwise known as cross processing, simulates the film effect you'd get if you use the wrong chemicals back when we used to process films. It can lead to some really unpredictable results with color and contrast. And this used to be a messy and experimental process, but now you can do it with one tap and just try it out. It's also worth mentioning vignette. This is a darker border at the edge of the photos. It gives this kind of old-fashioned feel. It's good if you need to shift the focus to the center of the image. The left-hand one has no vignette, the middle one has 50%, and the right-hand one has 100%. It's pretty subtle, but it can be really effective. So now, as you'll see, there's a bunch of other ones. Have a play with them and see how they affect your original image. And speaking of filters and effects, Canva comes preloaded with some amazing filters. So you just need to click once and apply consistent filters across any of your pictures. For anyone who's used social media filters before, this will be really familiar. This can really change the look and feel of your images and fast. From retro to whimsical, you can even do one-click black and white. Once selected, simply click on the filter again to get the intensity slider, and you can click through all the filters and see what looks best. Click none if you want to go back and start good as new. In the workbook, we've given you 4 pictures of a rock band taken at different times under different conditions. And your task is to use the duotone or another effect to add style to your image and bring some consistency to the images so they feel like they belong together. I'll throw that timer on and off you go. There's hundreds of ways you could approach this. And there's even a bunch of arty photo effects that really give you a really unique look as well. Bad TV is a good one, glitch, screen, pixelate, just to name a few. Okay, how did you go? Is it starting to look a little bit more consistent? Okay, next up, we've got a relatively newcomer to the photo editing tools, autofocus. It adds depth of field to your images in an instant. Autofocus lets you adjust your photo's focal points so you can blur out backgrounds and foregrounds. Now, without getting too technical, depth of field refers to the distance between the closest and the farthest objects in a photo that appear sharp or otherwise in focus. A shallow or a narrow depth of field means only a small amount of the distance is in focus. This will normally result in a blurred out background, while your subject, the focal point, will remain really sharp. A large depth of field tries to get as much as possible in focus. For photography, a large depth of field can be sometimes overwhelming because there's no visual cues for what to focus on. A shallow depth of field clearly shows you what the photographer wanted you to take notice of. More modern smartphones do have a depth of field function, but if you don't have that option or you've forgotten how to use it, never fear, Canva is here. Simply select your image, choose autofocus from the edit menu, and then adjust the sliders to get the right amount of blur in the background. One word of warning here, don't go overboard. Too much blur can look strange and a little bit unnatural. So I suggest using just enough so the background doesn't grab any attention. It just becomes visual white noise. So people ignore the background and focus on the subject. Now, this is a destructive edit. So when you hit apply, it'll stay this way. In the workbook, we're giving you an image where the background is grabbing too much attention. Try and knock it back a little bit so the subject stands out more. Your image should end up looking something like this. The first shot on the left is where the emphasis was shared between the background and the girl on the skateboard. You noticed how desolate the background seemed, the weather looks like, the row of telegraph poles, etc. The second shot, the focus is only on the girl. So we're getting to the end of our journey through the photo editing tools in Canva, and everything I've mentioned before is free to users, no matter whether you're on a free account or a pro account. The next thing I wanted to show you is only available to pro users, but it's so good I didn't want to leave it out. Yeah, it's background remover, and this is a real game changer. With one click, you can remove the background and replace it with something else. Now, this process used to be painstaking in other software applications, and it seriously took forever. Lots of zooming in, lots of Command Z, going back and forth until you kind of ended up with something mildly passable. Background remover makes all that a thing of the past. In the workbook, I've made a little exercise that references one of my favorite movies. Any guesses what movie this might be? I admit it's a bit obscure. It's Amélie, a French movie, great movie where the character steals her father's garden gnome and with the help of a flight attendant friend, sends pictures to her father of the gnome posing with landmarks all over the world. This eventually encourages the father to follow his dreams of touring. Anyway, back to the workbook. Take Gimlin, select the background remover, and there Gimlin is in Paris. And it's easy as that. This is particularly good if you need to create product shots, and it can be used for all sorts of things. The AI behind this is incredibly precise. And if you do want to get in there and manually correct anything, you can take away more by selecting erase. And likewise, you can restore more by hitting restore. And with that, we've come to the end of our whistle-stop tour of Canva's photo editing tools. And we've covered a lot of ground. I hope you can see the possibilities of these tools and how they can take your good photos and make them really great. The key is always practice and play. Have some fun with the tools. Don't worry, you can't break Canva. I always suggest that you duplicate pages as well. Experiment on the duplicate, and then you can always go back to the original if your experimentation goes a little bit too far. Upload your photos or use millions of stock imagery that we have in the library. And in fact, we would love to see how you go with the photo editing tools. So we've developed a template where you can put your own original photo in and duplicate it. Work on the duplication and then post on the socials and tag us with Canva Photo Edit so we can see what you've managed to achieve. And if you've liked this session, you can continue learning at canva.com/designschool/courses. We've just put a new course up there all about creating logos. It's got exercises included so you can practice what you're learning. And over the next few months, I'm going to be adding a bunch of new ones that will really help you use Canva to its full capacity. And if you're looking for more live workshops, you can see our upcoming schedule for the next month at canva.com/designschool/events. And if you're a Canva lover, you want to hear more about the latest product releases or be inspired by what other people are creating on Canva, definitely sign up to Canva Design Circle, the community on Facebook. It's a great way to kind of see what other people are doing and get inspiration and ideas for yourself. Thank you so much for joining us, and we look forward to seeing you at another Canva Live webinar.